yeah, hitting is hard. You go 3 for 10, you hit 300, you're considered a Hall of Famer. So the other 70%, what do you do? That's you failing and getting out. You enjoy the success for the small time, but reflect on work on when you fail. And another thing is how you react to failing and not doing your job. When you get compared to those college guys in the next 4 years when you actually step onto campus, they could be 3, 4 years older than you, sometimes 5, and it's how you're going to compare and take one of their spots. So that was the moment I realized there's no more messing around, there's no more slacking off. It's time to keep putting your head down and work.
And welcome back to the Battle Up Podcast. I'm your host, Tyler, and today we're joined by one of baseball's most exciting high school prospects, Noah Franco. Noah is currently committed to the Texas Christian University, TCU, as a first baseman and pitcher, but recently he just went through the MLB draft combine and may have a very interesting decision coming up in the next couple of weeks, whether to go to college and head down to Fort Worth or take a leap into professional baseball. But before we get into all of that, I just want to welcome you to the show. Thanks for coming on, Noah. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you guys?
Doing fantastic. So your life, we were talking before the show started, and your life sounds like it's a little different than it's been in the last couple of summers. You've got like a dead period going on?
Yeah, it's a bit different than, like I always said, different summers where you're traveling from state to state, playing summer tournaments with in the big events, where now you're senior year and you have the chance to play professional baseball or even the chance to go to a high level university. You have the time where you have nothing to do and you're just home and you have to figure out how to build your your free time, because at the same time in the next step with pro ball or college, you're gonna have free time and now you're gonna have to know how to utilize it. So I've been starting to build that schedule, build that routine, but it's been very different. Try to take a little break off baseball, but that only lasted like 3 days. And went right
That's
back
got to
to
be wild.
Yeah.
I imagine you don't take many days off. Like you don't get to this level by, sitting around playing Fortnite.
No. Well, even so, better, like another unique opportunity is being a two-way, and there, your arm, you can take a little break off that, but hitting, it's all eye trading. You can't take like weeks off of hitting, or else it's gonna take a while to build that back up.
Now you're a special type of player, and I think it's in the last 5 years become a lot more known. There have been players in the past that have been two-way players, but I think Shohei's really opened a lot of eyes and ideas around baseball about this two-way player. Talk to us a little bit about your recruitment process and even at like the most recently at the combine. How are teams approaching you, knowing that you can do both?
Um, it's it's as interesting in my head as it is in theirs. Everyone's like, well, what is this kid gonna be? Is he gonna be a hitter? Is he gonna be a pitcher? Or who knows? Maybe why not give him the shot to do both?
Yeah.
It's really unique, and really there's not a lot of kids who are able to move on with actually doing both at a high level. And luckily, the work I've put in on both sides, making sure that they're both at the same level rather than work on one more than the other. But I was always I was always hitter first, pitcher second. As like a pit, I was a really good hitter, who was also good at pitching. Never really practiced pitching, just had the feel for stuff, had the mechanics, had the feel, had the body. The body, that's what everyone, like for me, you walk up to me, if you're first time meeting me, and you say, you have really broad shoulders. Are you a pitcher?
Yeah.
That's the first thing they go to. So luckily I could say, yeah, I pitch and hit. They're like, oh, you do both. I'm like, it's really hard, but yes, I do both.
That's such a I love that because it feels like as a youth player, everyone does both. Like,
Hmm.
you break out a machine pitch, and you go into kid pitch, and you're like, "All right, I can pitch and I can hit, I can do it all." But over the course of 99.9% of players' careers, they go through and all of a sudden they're forced to make that decision. A lot of players that happens when you go into high school. But I was reading about your profile. You're throwing 93 from the left side, 6'3", like that is going to make scouts drool to begin with. And then, you can hit from the left side playing first base. And it seems like you have a pretty big opportunity in front of you that can go a lot of different ways. How do you deal with just the unknown of the next couple of weeks?
It's actually really fun because you really don't know what could happen. Like with some teams just wanting the bat and some teams craving the projection on the mound with the untapped potential. It's really interesting to hear, and especially doing all the meetings and stuff, hearing what their thoughts are and where I'm at currently with the mindset on which side to choose. It'll be really fun to see what happens in the next couple weeks.
That's awesome. That's a good approach to take towards it too. And instead of, thinking about the unknown, it's instead thinking about the possibilities. That's such a good mindset. Before we dive too far into that, I do want to kick things off here real quick with you growing up as a baseball player. What's the first memory you have of playing baseball?
The first memory, I would say the stories my grandparents would always tell me and my parents is even at a very young age, around no, the first time I was able to ever pick up anything, it was always something in a bat figure, either a stick, a foam bat, and I was always swinging around the house. That would be the only thing I carry around. So I think that's where it fully stuck to me. Then as I got older, started playing t-ball at 2.5. Was my dad created the youngest t-ball team in the city just for me to play, and then after that, it just became the love of my game.
That's fantastic. So, okay. So baseball, it sounds like, has been in your, DNA since you were born. Um, Growing up, obviously, taking to the game, what was a player that you looked up to?
A player I looked up to. I'm a Dodger fan. I'm from LA.
Yeah.
Grew up going to Dodger games, and on the mound it was always Clayton Kershaw. Because growing up, I was there in his prime era,
Oh
and then
yeah.
hitting was always either Cody Bellinger or Corey Seager.
Oh
Those
yeah.
were always the guys I would grow up watching on YouTube, rewatch all their highlights, study their swing, even try to mimic their swing. Um, I was always the type of player just to watch baseball, either watching swings over and over, watching plays over and over, watching games over and over. It was just a baseball takeover.
I love to hear that because that was me growing up. I grew up just loving the game of baseball.
Exactly.
Um, and I think it translates. Like if you do what you love, you're gonna love your life.
Hmm.
Um, so thinking about it and thinking about Corey Seager, thinking about Cody Bellinger, who do you think your game, from a hitter's perspective, most resembles? Like who would be a comp for Noah Franco?
I've heard multiple. I've heard Corey Seager. I've heard Bellinger. I've heard Yelich.
Oh,
Yeah.
those are those are good comps.
Those are the three like most common left-handers I hear.
So you hear names like that. These are names of players that you grew up idolizing. You're watching their highlights on YouTube. How do you manage that and keep yourself within your own game, within your own expectations? Um, Understanding that it's a hard sport. I mean, hitting itself is hard. How do you manage that stuff?
I mean, yeah, hitting is hard. You go 3 for 10, you hit 300, you're considered a Hall of Famer. So And the other 70%, what do you do? That's you failing and getting out. But for me, it was always you enjoy the success for the small time, but reflect on work on when you fail. And another thing is how you react to failing and not doing your job. Are you gonna be the one who is just all around athlete, a superstar, but doesn't know how to react to when he gets out or when he fails? The one who doesn't know how to face adversity. For me, it was always you got to expect that and expect other people to watch you see how you react. So my thing was always when I'm slumping, when I'm not having my thing on the mound, it's that next pitch, it's that next play, it's that next strike. That was always my philosophy and my way of thinking was what is the next outcome?
That's wonderful. I mean, that's a veteran response from a young player. I love it. Like you you sound like you're educated in the sport. So I think a lot of times what happens, and you see it around baseball, is players are really good at baseball, but if they don't understand the game, failure can hit pretty hard.
Right.
So understanding that and grasping that is a really, experienced response. I love that. I think you're set up for big success with that mentality. Um, Now I wouldn't be doing my job here at Just Bats if I didn't ask you what metal bat you've been swinging. So what's the metal bat you've been going to lately?
So all my life, I was always a One Piece guy.
Yeah,
I was always DeMarini, so I swung the Blue Goods from
yeah.
eighth grade to from eighth grade to junior year. I say because I didn't have a sophomore year. I reclassed up, so I didn't have that sophomore year, so junior technically. Then this year, went most of the year with the Gray Goods, and then switched over to the 2018-19 Louisville Slugger 917 Select. Yeah, two piece.
What what made you make that decision?
I don't even know. I found it in the garage one time. I must have made a trade back in eighth grade for a whole bag, and that was one of the bats in the bag. And I always thought it was a heavy. I always thought it was so heavy because it was a 34. And then this year was the first time like I was able to like swing that thing around the zone. And when I switched, I was like, this thing feels good because you hit it and it's just hollow. It literally sounds hollow, and it feels great out the hands. But me, I was always a goods guy, so it was hard to switch. But um, it's all about feeling baseball.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I mean, we get people all the time that are like, I have to have this bat. This is the bat. Like, the Bat Brothers, like they'll rank a bat and then like, I've got to swing the Atlas. And I try and talk to them. I'm like, listen, you've just got to swing the bat that feels right. So
Exactly.
what you said there is spot on. Like if it doesn't feel right, it doesn't matter who said what about it. Like just swing the right bat.
Yeah, and
Um,
then now I thought coming in after the year, TCU was all DeMarini. They just switched to Easton. So now I had all my DeMarinis ready, had them all tarred up and practicing with them. Get the call from Coach Sarlos. We're Easton now. So luckily I had the Maxim Ultra that I got back in the
uh-huh.
Select Fest. I've been working with that one, but I'm trying to see which one I like because I usually go with I choose three bats and I choose which one feels best. Same way I do with my wood bats. So now I'm in the stage where got to figure out what Easton bat I got to swing.
All right. All right. Well, that's a good bridge here to TCU because I know you're a commit. You're going to be a Horned Frog.
Yes, sir.
I mean, we'll talk like the draft isn't happening real quick because I want to get your mentality going into college, and then obviously you've got a decision to make at some point.
Right.
But when it came to colleges, who was the first team that reached out to you? When was the first time you were contacted about playing college baseball?
The first time I was contacted was eighth grade, and it was the University of Miami and Tennessee were at the same time. Back in 8th grade. This was 2021.
Okay. And now, when I mean, those are pretty big universities. Tennessee just won a national championship.
Yep.
Miami's got a storied history. What's that like as an eighth grader? Getting calls or having those conversations and being like, "Whoa, this got kind of real."
Well, it definitely hit me hard. Definitely hit me real hard with this is about to get real. That was the time I realized that like it's about to get real. And then after that, played out my spring, played out my summer, and then add more schools, get more looks. And then I commit to Mississippi State my freshman year. Was with them freshman, sophomore, junior, and then decided that just to test the waters again, see what happens.
Yeah.
Did that in April of 23. Stood uncommitted for the rest of the spring and the entire summer. Made sure I'm going to focus on my last summer ball season, and I made sure
Yeah.
that everyone understood that, and they took that in really well. So thanks to them. And then right after Jupiter is when I decided now we're going to take visits. But the
Okay.
one school that I fell in love with was TCU and that entire staff. It made me feel like family.
That's huge. I mean, you're committing in college baseball. You're committing 3 years. Like you've
Yep.
got to go. If you go, you go. And so having that, I mean, you have some flexibility now with the portal, but you want to go somewhere that's home. You want to go somewhere that's comfortable. Um, now receiving those offers, I want to track back to that eighth grade real quick. Receiving that contact in eighth grade, did that step up your intensity? Once you have those conversations, is it like, okay, I'm going to fully commit? Like, I know you're a baseball player your whole life, but like this becomes almost a job at this point.
Well, that's what I was about to say. Exactly. Like, technically, it has to,
Yeah.
because you can't be slacking anymore. Because when you get compared to those college guys in the next 4 years, when you actually step onto campus, they could be 3-4 years older than you, sometimes 5. And it's how you're going to compare and take one of their spots. So that was the moment I realized there's no more messing around. There's no more slacking off. It's time to keep putting your head down and work.
Yeah. Now reclassifying. Talk to us about what made you want to reclassify. I mean, you're originally a 2025 player. Now you're a 2024 player. How did that come about?
It was just like extensive talks with my advisor and my parents, but I was always ahead in credits. I was just behind I was just at regular, like at the line with 1 or 2 classes, so I just had to take them over the summer, that freshman summer. But we were already thinking of it before that, even freshman year. Um, and then that freshman summer, I really blew up. So we were like, I think this is the perfect time. So we had the summer class done, we're ready, and then decided, let's do it in November. So by January 1st, New Year's Day, that's when it hit public and everyone heard about it.
That's awesome. I mean, you're set up. You're now like what, one of, if not the youngest draft prospect in the upcoming draft. One of, I believe.
Yeah, one of, because this is one of an older class.
Uh-huh.
It's a little older class, so now I'm one of the younger ones.
Yeah, because I know at the very top of the draft, it's pretty college hitter heavy.
College based,
At least
yeah.
in the projections. Obviously, things happen, but it does seem like it's pretty college hitter heavy. Are there speaking to teams prior to this draft? Are there teams that you feel are most interested?
It's really like confusing.
Okay.
'Cause they also don't want to give out too much information,
Yeah.
as much as you don't want to give out too much
Yeah.
information. So these teams are really I mean, at the end of the day, it's a business. They don't want to give anything out for another team because if they're looking for an employee, they can't let another organization take their take their client.
Isn't that wild? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, just from like you saying it out loud. I've seen tons of drafts in my life and you don't even think about it, or you watch drafts across all sports, you don't even think about that element. But like they have to like secretly love you and like outwardly talk to you.
No, it's
Like it's
like
a
you
it's
run
a
into a story. You run into the stories where a team like really falls in love with the kid and their pick comes up and they skip on him.
yeah.
Yeah, that happens a lot. And then the team where you didn't even know they had any interest ends up picking you with their first, second pick.
I like I'll never know that feeling, but I'm excited for you too. Is there? I know you don't want to give out too much information, but is there like a point in the draft that you would think I'm headed to TCU?
It's not really a point. Um, I was always I was always a guy who likes the school books, likes the environment, likes going to school. So school was always an option for me. Um, how can I say this without spilling it too? Well, for me, it's really just the money part.
Yeah,
Like, because you could get first round money in the third, fourth, fifth round, and all I'd have to do is underslot the guy in front so that they guarantee you that money.
yeah.
So luckily, this draft's a lot different than other sports because other sports are contracts where this is just a signing bonus. So that's where the negotiating comes in. Uh, yeah, it's pretty fun.
How crazy is that? I mean, just a couple months ago, you were like sitting in like high school English class, right? Like,
Yeah,
and now it's like I'll negotiate a couple $1 million here. Like, that's cool. That's awesome. Like this, you've worked for this. I don't mean to make light of it. It's just a really fascinating aspect of like seeing an 18-year-old athlete be thrown into situations that I think as fans we look at and we kind of take for granted. We lose some of the human aspect of it. And here you are getting ready to make one of the biggest decisions of your life.
yeah, it's gonna be pretty. Might even catch who even knows? It could even catch me by surprise. It, you have to walk in it with such an open mind to knowing whatever happens happens.
That's so good. That's so good. I know you're going to be. I mean, you're set up. You're fine either way. And I think TCU, from everything I know about that program, you're in great hands there. So I'm really excited to follow that part of it. But that said, I want to know about the combine. I I want to know your perspective. Was it overwhelming? Was it exciting? Was it what you expected?
Definitely reached expectations. I was in the first group, so it was the earlier. Well, not really. It was like 10 o'clock for on-field BP, but getting ready for that and about a step. Now you're one group away from actually hitting on the field, and now that's when the heart starts pumping because you have Nelson Cruz, Harold Reynolds, Buck Showalter all behind you, analyzing the swing, putting it on MLB Network, and you have all these cameras and lights there. So definitely gets definitely gets a little nerve wracking. But for me, that's how I always am. I get a little nervous, but then right when I actually step in, either on the mound or at the plate, I I'm able to calm down real quick and believe back in my abilities.
Yeah, does it take a swing? Like a or are you were you locked in from one
No, it
pitch?
just takes for me. I'm big into breathing,
Yeah.
so my breathing techniques really calm my nerves down, and it works really well.
Now that was at the Diamondback Stadium, correct?
Correct.
Is it wild to think that in, a handful of years you could be starting a game there?
Oh, 100%. It's like in the past summer where you're playing at all these big league stadiums and preparing for what's to come. you're playing at them and you're realizing that you could be playing at this exact same park, be in this exact same spot. It's pretty cool. It really blows my mind, and it's like this got real quick.
Yeah, it is. It's absolutely real. So you are gearing up for this big moment, but like over the last couple of years throughout high school, I mean, you've been putting in work endlessly. Who are some of the people that have helped you get to this position?
I mean, flat out, the number one guy is my dad. Me and my dad are like ride and die partners in this. And at the same time with my dad, it's my mom, my parents. My parents supported me throughout everything. We're at every event. Went to Taiwan for USA this summer. Went to Mexico when I made USA last year for the qualifiers to make Taiwan. They went to everything. They were my front row fans at Area Code, at PG All American, all the events that we're at, they were there, and then we made sure to bring the sisters and entire family to help me to come out and support me.
Gotta love it. You gotta love it.
Yep.
I mean, you've got your support system right there in your own house. Outside of baseball, what are things you like doing?
I'm a big I like video games.
Yeah.
Well, right now I'm really big into EA PGA Tour. I've been really grinding that game out for the past probably month, 2 months now.
You said your
I
brother's a golfer,
really,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, when it
But
comes to
now
that game, can you beat him?
that game, I give him some good whoopings. I'm really good at that game. Matter of fact, last night we played 1-on-1, and I beat him by like the highest I beat him was like 9 strokes, 10 strokes.
Whoa.
But the same guy, my guy's also at 94 overall, and his is like 70.
On the golf course, how far can you hit it on the golf course?
Um, I've gotten to I've gotten to three carry 314.
Sheesh.
But now, right now, what I'm now with, I got my own clubs now. He's actually my instructor. My brother's my instructor, and I'm now learning how to actually utilize the clubs and know you don't gotta rotate that fast to make it go straight. That's the big
Yeah.
thing about golf. Once you start playing at courses and you start getting on the rough, you got to keep that thing on the fairway as much as you can. So he's utilizing how to use my irons, my wedges, putting. Putting's a big part of golf. That's a whole different part of the game.
That's great. Now, I assume he can beat you on a golf course pretty
Yeah,
handily.
he's
Is he winning by 9 or 10 strokes or more than that on the real course?
on the real course. He's probably winning by good 23,
Okay.
23 strokes. Yeah, I think if I even place, if I do if I score better than plus 15, I think that's a win for me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So what is that? We're looking. That's like 90 something. Shot 90, 90, 97, 98. Shot 98 on the day.
Okay.
Par 72.
There
So
you
I
go.
think that would be a win for me. Shooting under 100.
Okay. All right. Okay, so you like golf. You're getting into golf.
Yep.
Um music wise, what's like your pregame like music?
Pre-game music. I listen to all varieties of music. I listen to reggaeton, reggae, house music. House music's really been growing on me in the past couple. Actually, I could say year now. Nowadays, house music's the only thing on my Spotify. So, and now my mom got into it, so that's all she listens to as well. So I think I now next is just putting my dad on it.
Okay. And you mentioned you have
But
sisters. How old are your sisters?
38 and 31.
Oh wow, so
So
you
we
have
got
older sisters and a
big.
younger brother.
Yep.
All right. So are you an uncle then?
I'm an uncle of 6.
Let's go. Uncle life is the
Yeah,
best, isn't it?
it is. It is. And then like my oldest sister, his son plays baseball. He's a stud. My second sister, has a daughter who plays softball. She's a stud. They just broke the city record with championships for All Stars. So they're gonna be on the wall. Yeah, it's
So
pretty
you're
cool.
not
She's
even the
on.
best player in your own family.
I don't think so. I think they got some pretty good chances.
That's great. That's great. Well, Noah, I'm sure your watch party is going to be out of control at this draft. Like it sounds like you've got a pretty big support system. Um, Super excited for all of that. But before we take off here, I do want to play that game of turn two with you. So
Of course.
I'm gonna name these things. We're just gonna rapid fire. You just give an answer. You can give a reason or you don't have to. Totally in your court. So the one that I always start off with is Wrigley or Fenway.
You gotta go. You gotta go Fenway.
Okay.
Actually, hold on. No, I'm taking that one back. I'm going Wrigley.
Why?
So I've been to both, but I'm going Wrigley because how can you not? How can you not like the ivy greens on the wall?
Have you played it either?
No, I've
No.
not played it either because they stopped doing the baseball factory a couple years ago.
Yeah, I was wondering. I was wondering if you had done the baseball factory there.
Because now I did the baseball factory last summer, but it was at over there in Arlington.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Wrigley. No, I never did the Future Star stuff. So, but I have to go with the ivy greens in the on the track.
Okay, you can't go wrong there. Okay, strike out the side or hit a home run.
This is always the hardest question. No, actually, you got to go strike. You got to go strike out the side because you
There's
strike out the
something after
side.
you
You're
get the
feeling,
second one, right? Like you get the second one, and the third one's like,
no, you
here
get the
we go.
second one, and you're like, okay, I'm one away from getting the side. Because once you get the side, you get the fans pumped up. You
Yeah,
definitely get your team hyped. Now you have all the momentum, and at the same time, you're feeling great. You're feeling amazing. Now you're hoping, okay, there's three. Now let's go get three more the next inning.
yeah, yeah. It's addictive. You don't have to wait to get back out there to hit again. Like after you hit a home run, you go through a couple innings before you can get back in the box. You strike out the side, you can just go pitch the next inning, and here we go. Um,
But that question is also tough because I've done both. I've done both in at I've done both numerous times.
I bet you have. You're one of the biggest prospects of the upcoming draft. I bet you have.
So that was always one of the tougher questions to answer.
Okay. Okay. I've done both very, very little. So I can't answer that very much. Day games or night games?
No, I have to go day games.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
just flat out. There's no explanation for that one. I just like to sign out during game time.
Okay. I just want to state this ahead of the fact. I wrote this prior to the show, but um Clayton Kershaw or Madison Bumgarner?
No, you gotta go Madison Bumgarner. He hit bombs and he's the best pitcher. He's probably one of the best pitchers in playoff baseball. I know. I had to,
You
but when
just
you get
talked
compared
about
to a guy,
Kershaw. He was your
I
boy.
know
Oh,
it
wow.
was, it is. But when you talk about a guy who's probably given up less than 15 runs in the playoffs, probably less than 10, and at the
Yeah.
same time has probably more than 10 career homers, even hit leadoff in a game. You gotta go with Mad Bum.
It makes sense. It makes sense. A pitcher that can hit would be right at your heart. Just a little insight. We are located in Kansas City, and Madison Bumgarner absolutely destroyed us in 2014. So there's
Yeah.
a lot of negative energy in this building around Madison Bumgarner. So uh but taking that hat off, I can appreciate the hitter pitcher combination and the clutch factor. Um Beach or
100%.
mountains?
Beach. I lived in California, down in LA, right by numerous beaches, and then when I was down in IMG, down in that Bradenton, Sarasota area, surrounded by water. So I've always been around beaches.
What's a place in the world you've never been to but you want to go?
Oof, this was actually kind of tough because my mom's a big traveler, so we've done a lot of traveling. Actually, I'll go with Sri Lanka.
Oh, wow. That was out of left field too. I've asked that question before and people are like, I want to go to Florida. And no, you've been all over. I mean, the way you're talking,
No, I've done a lot of traveling,
have
a
you been
lot
to
of
Costa Rica?
countries. Yeah,
Have you been to? I'm gonna see if I can stump you. I would assume. Have you been to Europe?
yeah, all of
Yeah,
East Europe.
all of East Europe. Wow.
Yeah.
And last question for you: What's the biggest moment in your career? Like, what moment in a game do you think back on and think like, holy cow, that was awesome?
It's definitely got to be my Team USA. We're down by one. I'm up with the runner on first and second, and there's one out. No, yeah, there's one out playing Mexico in Mexico. So there's about 3,500, probably 4,000 fans strictly going for Mexico, and then we have our one little U.S. section. And I come up with an 0-1 count, hit a double down the line to tie the game, and then Nazan Zanatello comes in and hits a double in the gap to win the game, and we clinched the gold medal game. So that's probably the best experience, best moment I've had in recent times.
That was the gold medal of 18U.
That was to make it to the gold medal. The winner of that game
Oh,
goes to the
gotcha,
gold
gotcha.
medal.
That's a phenomenal life experience.
Yeah, it was. That's definitely got to be my best moment in recent time.
Noah, I can't help but see how bright your future is. I appreciate you coming on this show. This has been a blast. I know you.
Thank you.
I know
No, I
you.
appreciate you guys for having me. It's been
Yeah, of
I've
course.
really enjoyed talking to you guys.
Yeah, I would love to schedule a timeout sometime over the next year and reconnect here and get your whether you're at TCU or you've decided to play pro ball, um, kind of get some insight into that process if you're cool with that. And
Yeah, no, I mean, you have my number, and then definitely we go through Instagram. So yeah, no, you have my contact. So whenever you want to reschedule and do another one, I'm totally down.
sweet. And whenever you decide to make it to the professional ranks, and then you climb through those and you make it to the majors, I'll be at your debut there. Okay.
Perfect. I would really appreciate that. That would
Yeah,
mean a lot.
it would really help me if you could debut here in Kansas City, just from a
Oh,
logistics.
that would be sick, right? How far are
Yeah.
you from the stadium?
Well, we're about 20 minutes here, 25
Oh,
minutes here in the.
that's not bad.
Yeah, so I can get there. So just debut at Kaufman, and I'll bring the whole family out.
Perfect. That would be
We got four
spectacular.
of us, so we could do Noah on our chest.
Yeah, don't worry. You'll be mixed in with the big group that will come out for mine. So that would be pretty. That would be pretty awesome.
Sweet, sweet. Well, Noah, thank you so much. This has been a blast. I wish you nothing but the best of luck. I know you got success in the future, and you're working hard there. So, um, best of luck with the next couple of weeks. Just enjoy them, and we're pulling for you.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much.
You're the man. Thanks for watching this episode of the Batter Up Podcast. I hope you enjoyed this interview with Noah Franco. Really fun to sit down and talk and get a perspective of what it's like to go through that process of either going off to college or going to the MLB draft and the process beyond that. If you're interested in more of these interviews and more of these episodes, be sure to subscribe to the Batter Up Podcast on YouTube and Spotify or anywhere else that you get your podcasts. I'm Tyler, and I'll see you on the next episode.